Casio digital sampling rhythm composer RZ-1 from around 1986-87, and it's a really cool little machine, this, with its ability to sample 4 different sounds into 4 sample slots. You have the usual rows of stock rhythm sounds, drum sounds, some accent mute buttons, and start-stop. We also have some auto compensation and quantized functions, swing, etc., etc., and you can change songs together as well. We have individual outputs for the sounds, including the sampled sounds, but some of the outputs share some sounds, like sample 1 and 2 and sample 3 and 4. On the back you have jacks for the individual outputs, you have midi in, out, and through, and you have a stereo combined output as well, and that's where the individual level controls come in handy if you're using the drum machine with a stereo output. If you find your sampled sounds a little too crunchy or should be more crunchy, you have a little filter knob for each of the 2 sampled outputs, sample 1 and 2 and sample 3 and 4. You can use to adjust the level of crunchiness of the actual samples you've sampled into the machine. You have a mic or line input jack for those times you want to sample. And you also have the jack outputs for tape in and out if you're going to save your sounds. But as you will see later, the RZ-1 has the ability to load samples via MIDI sample dump and MIDI sysex, so you'll be amply rewarded if you follow this tutorial through to the end, and I'll show you how that works. So let's start listening to some of the drum sounds then. Like all old samplers, the crash leaves something to be desired, maybe? What you're hearing here is the drum sound coming out of the stereo output, and there's no individual processing of the sound themselves. So you'll hear later how they sound when I process them individual. As most of the drum machines of the time, RZ-1 has a pattern mode and a song mode, and you combine different patterns to make up a song. So first you have to programming in some patterns. And patterns can be everything from half a bar to as many bars as you want, or measures, but I'm going to programming in 1 bar and in real time, although there is a step record function, I'm not going to use that. So I press the start stop button and it's ready to receive my button pressing. As long as you are in record mode, you will always hear the metronome clicking to the beat. So I'm going to use the accent button now and make the hi-hat, closed hi-hat, a little louder on the 1, 3, 5, and 7. Everything is now quantized to the 16th note because that's how I've set it up. The same way, the mute button mutes the individual sounds in the pattern when you press it during record. And by setting the RZ-1 in play mode, I don't hear the metronome anymore. A big drawback of the RZ-1 is that you cannot change patterns on the fly while the sequencer is going. On other drum machines you can choose another pattern during the pattern that's playing, and it will switch to that in real time. The RZ-1 can't do that, and that's a very big drawback, unfortunately. And because of that, you have to build up several patterns to combine into a song if you want to play anything with more than just the one pattern going. Although a pattern can be longer and you can program in more variation on that actual pattern, it's better to make several smaller patterns and combine them into a song. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm building up a couple of patterns to show you how to combine those in song mode of the RZ-1. So that's one pattern. Let's listen to that back. Just the kick and hi-hat. And I'll make another pattern by going up or down. And I've done this beforehand, so I have two patterns going, pattern 3 and pattern 4, just to make the tutorial a little shorter. So how do we combine those patterns into a song? Well, we have to put the drum machine in song mode, and that's what I'm going to show you in the next step. So to get into song mode, you have to press the song button above the pattern button. And now we can input what patterns we want to appear in the song at each given bar or beat. You can decide that by pressing the up and down buttons and just programming in those patterns you want to have in that song. So in my case, I had the pattern 3 and 4, and I've decided to use the pattern number 4 for the first 4 bars, or step, like it says in the display. So for the next couple of bars, I want to use that pattern number 3 where I have more drums going, and use that for a couple of bars or steps. And for the last 4 bars or steps, I'm going back to the simple hi-hat kick pattern on pattern number 4. And now we have a song combined of 16 steps or bars. And let's hear how it sounds. That's a complete song, a short one, albeit. And now on bar number 5, everything should come in. And it works. And let's move over to the simple one again, right now. And back to the pattern 4. And everything should stop now. So the sampling bit. The RZ-1 is an 8-bit machine, 20 kHz. Don't be fooled by descriptions online that says it's a 12-bit machine. It's not, it's an 8-bit machine, and all the better. You have 4 sample button slots, which can hold 0.2 seconds of sampling each. You have the sampling level fader on top there, and you also have to use the line or mic input switch on the back, where the jack input connection also is. The sample buttons can be combined in different ways to make up longer samples, like sample 1 and 2 can be combined into one 0.4 sample, and sample 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be combined to make up one sample holding 1.8 seconds, and everything will be contained after shutdown if you have a fresh battery in the RZ-1. That's very cool. And you use the sampling button here to initiate sampling. It's very simple. You hold that down and press one of the sample buttons, and you now are in sampling mode. Everything coming in now will be sampled. There's nothing fancy finesse over this. It's pure and simple. So if you want to combine those different buttons to make up a longer one, you just press sampling and hold down sample button 1 and 2, and you're sampling into 0.4 seconds of time. The same with sample buttons 1 and 4. Now you sample into 0.8 seconds of sampling. Everything going on sample button 1 if you want to fire that off. And I had some fun making a different type of sounds for this tutorial by opening a box of Coca-Cola or snapping my finger or grunting into the microphone. And it'll all appear on the sample buttons. That's the Coke can box. I only got the attack of it. I had the level button a little too low when sampling the snapping of my fingers. That's a little lower now in the tutorial. But that's my fault, really. I have some reverb going on these samples as well. But here's the kicker, the RZ-1 can receive MIDI sample dump, so check out the description for how to use this in a more detailed way. So I'm just going to show you how I use Bohm Sendex to transfer some samples over to the RZ-1. I open the file, which holds 4 different drum sounds. I just double click on that. And I can see the hex dump coming up in the Sendex window. And I just press send and look at the RZ-1 now. It says MIDI receive and it takes a little while, but this is in real time, so this is the actual length it takes to transfer those 4 samples over to the RZ-1. And here they are. And some hats. So I thought, why not make a little demo track which uses these 4 samples along with a hat from the actual RZ stock sound. And everything you hear here is recorded in one take for each sound.